So I'm out on another walk on along the Offa Dyke path, another section along the Wye Valley. More or less know where I am, but not completely. I've got my little furry friend with me, my companion, young Otto. Obviously I have to be a little bit careful how many miles I do with him because he's only 10 months, so yeah, he's still growing, his bones are still forming, so I have to do little, you know, an hour or so walk with him. But I do try and get out, and I need to try and get out on much longer stretches to get some miles in the legs, because as I've mentioned before, I'm off to Peru in just over a week. So the reason I've rejoined social media, which I suppose I went off quite a while ago, or certainly I've not participated in as much as I used to back in the days when it was all about clubs and promotion and plenty of self-promotion as well at the time, which was all part and parcel of it. But yeah, I've just set up my Instagram account, or an Instagram account, probably a couple of weeks ago, and started posting a bit of content. Yeah, the reason I've been doing that is it's kind of in the build up to going away on this trip, because it's going to be quite an epic trip. And what's brought it all about is, as most of you that speak to me semi-regularly or will know, it's been a tough few years for various reasons. As you'll know, I lost the old man a few years ago, 4 years ago almost now, which as it is for anybody that's lost a parent or a loved one, certainly one that they've had a significant relationship with, is quite a life-defining moment. But then when you're raising two little kids, you don't really have and a couple of businesses, you don't really have the time to kind of, I don't know, deal with things perhaps as you would like to be able to, and or would probably be healthiest way of doing, as well as, you know, then followed by pandemics. And it's been a tough few years for everyone, I'm sure, in many ways. I'm certainly speaking to people, speaking to friends, family. You know, it's been a tough few years for a lot of people. And then part and parcel of that was my marriage broke up. Probably been kind of about a couple of years of going on, but really the last 18 months it's been going through it, trying to sort it out, but it wasn't possible, unfortunately. And as people that do know me know that I'm a very, very family orientated person, and so it was pretty heartbreaking for me, just losing kind of that dream of a family unit and everything that comes with it. So I've been on a bit of a journey myself the last year or so. Lots of reading, lots of listening to podcasts, reflecting, lots of digging deep, I suppose. You know, trying to go through the layers, if you like, and try and really, you know, get to the bottom of, to a certain degree, what it's all about, you know, how firstly it started off trying to work out what kind of had gone wrong. Yeah, so I had to get Otto through one of these gates, one of these walker's gates, which he's not wholly keen on, and he hasn't quite worked out the most efficient way of getting through them yet. Poor lad, still teaching him that. But as I was saying, yeah, it's been a tough few years, and I suppose this kind of journey I've been on of a little bit of digging deep and trying to find out a little bit more about myself, and kind of really really what it's all about, you know. And it all started really trying to work out what had gone wrong with myself and Danielle. That was kind of the initial impetus, and I kind of didn't fully come to the clear conclusion about that. But what I did realise is, you know, we can only take responsibility for ourselves, and we can only be accountable for ourselves, and everybody's going through something. So I suppose, you know, she's got her own story, and I just have got to concentrate on mine, and obviously my girls. So that was kind of what started it, and then there's been a whole lot of reading, a whole lot of reflection, and I've even started doing the types of things that I've never done before. Lots of holistic self-healing, things like meditation, journaling, even breath work, and all these things that you kind of feel and find that they're not really anything that you would ever be able to get into or understand, or I certainly always felt that way. And this whole term spirituality, which has always been a bit off-putting for me, because it's always seemed, you know, to have religious connotations, and I've never felt any particular draw towards religion myself. But, you know, each to their own, and I certainly don't judge people that do have their own sense of religion, but I kind of bundled it all into the same thing, and I've come to realise that there's actually a lot of science, and there's a lot of crossover with, you know, actual neuroscience and evolution and psychology and quantum physics and all these very kind of, or fairly quantifiable things, which are being studied very much in the mainstream now, and I realise that there's a huge crossover there with spirituality, and I've also felt a lot of the benefits from it. So kind of that's where I'm at, and that's led me to going on this trip to Peru, which, unlike, I mean, I've done a lot of travel in my time, I've been lucky enough to do that, but this one's a bit different. You know, it's not just going out and seeing and having a good time and all the rest of it. It's also, there's a few challenging things I'm going to be doing whilst I'm away. One of them is a week in the Amazon, in the jungle, and I'm off to one of these retreats, which is an ayahuasca retreat, which for some people it's starting to creep in to their awareness. With other people it may even seem a bit cliche, but it's hard to make something cliche which is so profound and so impactful. So, you know, you know, there can be many fads and many things going on, but this isn't. I think this is a little bit strong to be counted as a fad. So if you don't know about ayahuasca, essentially it's a plant medicine, if you like, a psychedelic plant medicine, which has been drunk for generations and generations. Who knows, it could go back hundreds, thousands of years. In the Amazon, you may have seen people in documentaries doing something like that, where they sit down with some of the people from one of the Amazon tribes, and there's a shaman or two usually there, and you have some pretty sacred ceremonies going on, and essentially it's you're blasted off for a good 5 to 6 hours, and I can't really explain too much because I haven't done it. In terms of, I know a lot of the science behind it, but having not experienced it yet, I'll try to put more into words what happens and how it is after I've done it. But essentially, it's two types of plant from the Amazon, a vine and a leaf that amazingly, when combined, allows the DMT, which is a very, very strong, naturally occurring psychedelic. It's a neurotransmitter, which, without getting too sciencey about it, is carried in all of us, in all mammals, in fact, and plays a part in some way. They're still trying to determine exactly what part it plays, but it plays a significant part in our perception and consciousness, and there's lots of theories regarding it. But it occurs in this leaf, and if you ate the leaf on its own, or you drank the leaf on its own, it wouldn't do anything to you. But because of the enzymes that are in the root, they block the very things in the brain that kind of defend against the DMT entering, therefore opening up the gate for the DMT to get into your brain, and depending on what your belief system is, whether you're particularly spiritual, or whether you err more on just the neuroscience, pure neuroscience side of it, of which, as I said, a lot of it's crossing over, and they don't have to be mutually exclusive. But anyway, it basically, the two things combined cause a massive trip, essentially. But it's certainly not going to be, it's certainly not no fun and games and anything like you may have seen in the movies, or you may have imagined it to be, in terms of some fun recreational giggle with friends chasing dragons around the place. It's far heavier and deeper, and it can really bring up many of the things in, let's say, in your psychological basement, and it can tell you a lot about yourself, and you can certainly be confronted with many of your own demons, and maybe some demons that you didn't even think you had that were there. So it's not something that I take lightly, and it's not something that I'm going into in some kind of blasé way. It's something that I'm a bit nervous about, to say the least, and I'll be there in just over a week, and that's the first part of the trip. Trip in both uses of the word. And yeah, there's 4 ceremonies essentially in a week, so it's not like you do it once and you see how it goes, and if it was a shitty experience, you're like, yeah, okay, that's not for me. I mean, you can of course always decline doing any more, but the idea is that you push through it and you keep doing it no matter how difficult it is, and you do it 4 times within 6 nights. So it's not going to be a picnic, put it that way. And along with that, there's other ceremonies and plant medicine which you partake in whilst you're there, as well as some amazing jungle walks and seeing all the local wildlife, or some of it. There's apparently trekking to see into the jungle to see if you can find some anaconda, which could be interesting, and alligators and caiman, and there's some piranha fishing, and yeah, it's a pretty epic itinerary. So that's going to be the first week or so I'm out there, and then, depending on what state of mind I'm in, I've then got to tackle the I think it's called the Salcante Trail, which is the alternative, or one of the alternatives to the classic Inca Trail to Machu Picchu, which is significantly longer and at higher altitude. So hence why I'm doing a little bit of walking around the green fields and woodlands of the Wye Valley and the Forest of Dean. But yeah, it's not going to be anything like this for sure. It's 10 hours trekking a day, and a lot of it up mountains through the Andes. So that's going to be quite a challenge as well, you know. So there's a lot of mental and physical challenges going on. So anyway, and then yeah, I'll be after that staying for a little bit longer and doing a few more cool things, and I'm going to try and vlog about them and report on them and give some feedback on them. So anyway, I just wanted to give an introduction to that, because I'm almost a week away now from flying out there. So I just wanted to give a bit of context before we get going with that. All right, ciao for now.